Just going to give it a minute to make sure that we are all connected here. And also, if you are watching on the replay, just know that sometimes it could be a little blurry in the beginning, but I promise it's going to clear up. So just stick with me because this is like a really great topic. And I feel like all of the topics that I do are great topics, but this is a great topic because we are talking about when you finish, right? Like you finish that first draft, you got through it, you charged through. Yes, now it's time for revision. And revision can consist of all kinds of hold you back and really stall your progress. So stir up all kinds of how do you actually handle your script revisions and keep forward progress, right? Even if you're facing doubt, even if you're facing insecurity. So we're going to dive into it today because this is important, and this is actually going to help you to move through this process faster. So let me introduce myself. My name is Kristen Iris Johnson. I am a showrunner, film producer, screenwriter, and the CEO of Black Screenwriter Alliance. This channel and also our membership community where we bring together emerging Black film and TV writers so that they can elevate their craft, confidently build industry relationships, and forge your own path in the industry with allies. Because community is everything, and support is everything, and connection is everything, especially in this industry. So, thank you for joining me for this live. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and enjoy. So, all right, so we're going to dive into this because this whole month, I know we're at the end of July, but there is a crossover between our topic in July, which was all about making progress, pushing to progress beyond the inner voice and what the inner voice might be telling you you can do. And our August theme that is coming up, which is going to be all about revision. And we are going to be diving into this inside our membership community. So, you can always go and check that out. Try it free for 7 days at blackscreenwriteralliance.mn.co. So let's dive in. There is a crossover between this because as you finish that script and you move into revision, that can stir up a lot of doubt. Now, a lot of people don't always realize that that is the challenge. So if you have ever, finished a script, finished a pilot, finished whatever it is that you're working on, and you need to move into the revision, or like you start the revision, but you get stuck, right? It's like this, I'm stuck. Where do I go? What do I do? I'm not sure how to move this forward. Or you find yourself making excuses when you're supposed to be working on it to go do something else, getting distracted, whether it is by social media, by something else that comes up, and oh no, now I have all these distractions, or just finding some other excuse to not actually sit down and work on it. Mm, you're gonna want to stick around, right? Now, I actually can speak to this from within our community. There have been a couple of people when we do our monthly strategy call, which is a call that we do. It's a Zoom call that we do where we come together collectively. And if you have a question, you have an issue, you have a challenge you're facing, we collectively problem solve and help you and share different perspectives and help you through that. So on a strategy call, a couple of strategy calls, there have been a couple of people over time that have mentioned like they're in their revision, they finished their script, but now they're like, how do you stay motivated? Or I keep getting distracted, or I sit down and work on it and then I stop and I start working on something else. And for me, when I hear that, my question is always, are you stuck in terms of what do I do in the story? Like you need help workshopping it, or are you having trouble just sitting down and even looking at it? Because there is a difference. Now, when it comes to revision, right, you finish that draft, you get into the revision, that is very often when doubt comes in. Because if you made it through that first draft, first of all, and a lot of people don't, that's actually, first of all, just give yourself kudos, because there are a lot of people where they start projects and then they didn't actually finish it. And that's also a mindset and a mental thing. So for you, if you have finished it and you got through that, a lot of times we get to that point and it's like, all right, I got through the first draft, but now I have to actually make it good, right? Because we talk about the messy first draft, or you might call it the vomit first draft, or the garbage first draft, whatever term it is. But your first draft is a first draft. It is a rough draft. It is not what's going to be on screen. It's not what you should be submitting to producers. It's not what you should even be sending to your friends to read, to give you feedback on, right? It is a rough draft. So with that knowledge, when you look at it and you're like, okay, this is rough. I got through that accomplishment, but now that doubt sets in because you're like, this is a mess. Cool, got to make it better. Or it's this is okay, but do I really have the ability to make it better? What if I can't make it better? What if I can't make it great? What if I'm not good enough? Right? So then the distraction sets in, the excuses, or you just skip to the next project. You're like, oh, I'll come back. And then maybe you'll come back, but then you get stuck again because you're not actually addressing the real problem. The real problem is that deeper emotional part, that mental part that is like, ooh, how do I move forward? So if you're thinking your issue is motivation, it's not what you were motivated to write it. So what changed, right? It's not the motivation, right? It's not the motivation to revise. It is a point of fear. It is the fear that is coming up that is pulling you away from it, that is saying, you're not good enough for this. So I'm going to give you a distraction. So I'm going to give you an excuse. So I'm going to point you in a different direction. Oh, here's a shiny new project that you can work on instead. Because your brain, as a protection against this deeper fear, is trying to pull you away from the thing that might confirm this fear is true. We're going to get into that a little bit more. But what do you do? So the first thing is stop pulling away. Right? If you're like, I can't sit down and do it. I get distracted, this, that, the other. I went to this, come back to the project, right? Stop pulling away. Like I said, that is your brain trying to point you away from the problem. The problem is not the script. The problem is not the script. The problem is the doubt and the fear that is even deeper underneath that doubt, right? So your brain is trying to pull you away. You need to come back, sit in it, right? If you think that your issue is story and you have the ability to sit down with your script and to work through it, to problem, even if you're not finding the solution, you're trying, you're problem solving, you're brainstorming, you're sitting there, you're like, okay, maybe this, or I'm seeing this issue, you're able to call a friend, then your story might, your actual problem might be story, because you're actually able to sit there and try to work through it. If you are even pulling away from trying to work through the story or work through the changes that are needing, that your script is needing, you're making excuses, that is an indication that this is a mental emotional issue. Whenever someone says, how do I keep the motivation to continue with my revision? I know that, first of all, motivation is not about craft. Motivation is psychological. So if someone's talking about motivation, I'm like, there is something going on that is putting them in doubt, that is making them feel like maybe I can't actually do this. And that's why they're pulling away. So stop pulling away, sit in the moment, sit there with the script. That feeling that might be building, that's like that icky feeling, that stuck feeling, that anxious feeling, sit with it. Because if you keep running away, you're not going to be able to name it. And you have to name it, and I'll get into why. So sit in the moment, ask yourself, what is really coming up for me? What am I afraid of? This is where you get into the story that you are subconsciously telling yourself about yourself as a writer, as a person. We start to kind of move these narratives together, that if I cannot make this script better, then I am not good. I am not a good writer. And then I am not good. Like there's something wrong with me as a person. So we start to the subconscious starts to put these things together. So you need to get into what is the story that you are actually telling yourself that you don't even realize you're telling yourself about you. Is it, you are not capable of doing this? Is it, I am not good enough to make these changes? Is it, okay, I got the first draft done, but I don't know how to make it great. I can't make it great. I'm not good enough at that. Or what if I can't make this good? That might be what's coming up for you. What if I'm not good enough? What if I can't do that? And then ask again, well, what would that mean? Because if you're wondering, well, what if I'm not good enough? It is because you have a meaning that is tied to that. All right. And that is where you have to start really exploring what's the narrative and then shift the narrative. Now, I talked about this. I talked about shifting the narrative in the last video, which was, I think it was called Changing Your Inner Narrative, Mindset Work for Screenwriters, something like that. And so you can find it on the YouTube channel. So the you want to start shifting that narrative. You can actually go to that video and I go deep into like how you can shift the narrative once you identify it, right? But the naming of it, this is really important because when you name it, you can do something about it. And this is something that I think I referenced this last week. This is something that Brene Brown talks about in her book Daring Greatly when it comes to taking brave action, right? When it comes to um, acknowledging, even being able to like step into leadership, stepping into creativity. What is that deeper thing? It starts to come down to like that vulnerability, like being able to get into what's really going on. The piece that becomes hard to name is shame. And I think this is actually really relevant to this topic because when you have that first script done, that first draft, and then you get to the revision and you're like, oh, I'm unmotivated or I'm distracted or all these other things, all these other excuses, it is you are running away from even naming what's going on. And when you ask these questions, what's coming up for me? What am I really afraid of? What if I can, and what may come up? What if I can't? What if I'm not good enough? And what does that mean? What those answers tend to come down to is like, I am not good enough, and therefore I am not worthy. I'm not worthy of career. I'm not worthy of, making money from this work. I am not worthy of being seen as valuable, being seen as whatever it is. I'm not worthy of love. So I'm getting like deeper into the psychological here. So this shame piece, that is a shame. That is I am not enough and I am not worthy. Not my script needs work. Not my script needs improvement. Not me as a writer. I need to develop my skills more. It's I as a person am not good enough, or I as a person am not worthy. And that is rooted in shame. And when you can name it, it starts to lose its power. This is what she talks about. This is what Brene Brown said. This is why I think this is so important right now. Like I've been reading this. I was reading this over the weekend, and I'm still reading it. But I think that this work is really important that she talks about. It's very, very relevant here because that shame piece, the like I'm not enough and therefore I'm not worthy, that is what is stopping you in your tracks. And when you don't look at it and you can't name it, you cannot do anything about it. But when you can look at it, when you can get honest with yourself. This is what's really coming up. This is what I'm really afraid of. And I'm afraid that if I can't make this better, that means that I'm actually not worthy of doing this work. I'm not worthy of having my voice heard, of having my story told, of having my story seen by other people. When you can name that, now you can move through it. You can do something about it. You can shift that story. You can even look at that story and be like, is that a rational way of thinking about my revision? That if I can't execute this vision, it means that I am not worthy of being seen or heard. Is that rational? It's not, but fear and doubt and vulnerability are not rooted in the rational. Right? They're rooted in the subconscious and they are rooted in a need for survival. And survival is a connection with people and being worthy of connection. And if you're stuck in the shame of I am not enough, I am not worthy of connection, it is hard to get there, right? So that is where when you name it, you can address it, you can look at it, you can feel through it and be like, oh, this is what's really coming up for me, but this is not true. Now that you've named it, you can shift the narrative. Again, I did a video about this The last video that I did, you can find it. I will try to link to it in the description as well after this live. But once you identify it, you add words to it, it starts to lose its power because you see that fear and that shame for what it is, and you can rewrite that, shift that narrative so that you can start operating from a place of creativity and empowerment and challenging yourself through this revision to keep going, to keep sharing your voice, to keep refining the story that you want to bring to screen instead of holding yourself back because of something that is more subconscious, right? And that's why you have these steps to it: is stop pulling away, stop getting distracted, sit in it and identify, again, what am I afraid of? What's coming up for me? Sit in that if you are really struggling to sit down with your revision. Those questions are going to start surfacing answers. And when you get to the deeper down root of that narrative, then you can shift that narrative. All right. So as part of that, remember, this is important, especially as we get into that revision, right? You are not your work. Your first draft is supposed to be messy. All right. But you are not your work, and your work and what people think about your work is not a reflection of your worthiness as a human being. So as I'm saying this, I'm realizing this feels like a really heavy topic, but this is a really important topic and it's really powerful, especially for us as Black creators, because we get enough messages from society that is telling us that our voice isn't wanted, our voice isn't needed, that our stories aren't wanted. We don't need to keep adding to that ourselves. So this narrative, whatever narrative is coming up for you that you dig into and you're like, oh, this is really what's going on. I'm actually afraid that I can't do this or that I'm not good enough, et cetera, et cetera. It's not just coming from you. It's coming from the world around you, and it has then been ingrained in you, which is why it also takes active work to shift that narrative. Because as I had mentioned, these things, ouch, that hurts. Oh my goodness. Just hit my elbow. As I mentioned, these things are subconscious, which means that they are like automatic responses, and your brain and your body go automatically, ooh, let's pull away from this because I'm afraid that I'm going to find out this truth about myself, that I'm actually not good at this. So you have to actively, because that is conditioning, that is the way you have learned to respond as a way to protect yourself. You have to actively operate against that. And that means changing the narrative and taking action towards a new narrative. So if you remember, you are not your work. Your work and how people respond to your work does not define your worthiness as a human being. Great. Now you can get back to taking action, right? Remember, your first draft is supposed to be messy. It's not actually supposed to be good. So if you can remember that, and then remember that you are not your work, divorce yourself from your work and the outcome of your work and how people respond to your work, then it is easier to get back into, great, let me take action. Let me work on this scene. Let me work on this element that I know isn't working, that needs to be fixed. That's when you can start getting into the actual revision process, which is something we're going to be talking a lot about next month. So, make sure that you subscribe so that you can see those videos, those live streams that I'm going to be doing Tuesdays and Thursdays, guys. Every Tuesday and Thursday, I am coming on here live. So next month, we'll be talking all about revision and revision process. So what you can do and the steps that you can take. So getting out of your head and out of that doubt so that you can actually get into that revision process, and then get rooted in your why. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you writing? Everybody faces doubt. Everybody faces insecurity. Everybody gets anxiety. Everybody's stressed, whether you have a deadline and you are working in a room, or you are working on a project, or you are just working for yourself because you are trying to produce something, to write something that you will then try to get greenlit. All of us experience it. It is super normal to experience that. If you're not experiencing doubt at some point, then I'm genuinely wondering, like, what's wrong with you? What is wrong with you that you are not like, you're never wondering, oh, or worried or struggling or challenged or stressed about it? Like, that's just not a thing. So, when you can get rooted in your why, like, why am I doing this? Why am I writing? Why this story? Why is it important for me to have my voice out there and to share what I have to say through this work? That helps to ground you in purpose instead of in fear and doubt. And when you're grounded in purpose and you're grounded in your passion, you can take action from purpose and passion instead of doubt and fear. And that's also going to honestly help you just write better work. It is okay to feel fear. It's okay to feel doubt. You will. But when you can start to shift more into purpose and passion, that creativity is going to flow much better. All right. And then the other thing is, what's really going to help you with this is relying on your support, your allies. Who are your writing allies? Who are the people that lift you up? Who are the people that you can go to help you workshop your script? Because that's something you're probably going to need to do in revision. Don't skip that step. We're going to talk about that later, later in terms of in the coming weeks. So if you don't have support, you need to get support. All right. This is why we have Black Screenwriter Alliance, the membership community. You can try it free for 7 days. blackscreenwriteralliance.mn.co is where you can go and sign up. Your support is vital. Your community is vital. Those are the people that will lift you up. Those are the people that will remind you of your brilliance when you are forgetting. Those are the people that are going to help you workshop your script, that are going to give you feedback, that are going to tell it to you straight and not sugarcoat it. I mean, maybe like a little bit of sugar on it, but like they're going to be honest with you about where your script is at, and they will help you problem solve. That is the kind of community that you want. Those are the kinds of allies that you want in this industry. And this is where being in Black Screenwriter Alliance is so beneficial, because we have people there that you can connect with, that you can build real relationships with, and supportive relationships and supportive groups as well. So some of the things that we also do in Black Screenwriter Alliance to help you with this, not only like the mindset side word, through the doubt, through the insecurity, and to keep your momentum, is we have a lot of accountability elements. So we have actually coming this Thursday. So if you're watching live, make sure you come in and join us this Thursday, our monthly goal setting and action call, which is always on the last Thursday of the month to set up for the next month. So we'll be hitting it on the 31st to set up for a strong August, getting clear on your goals, structuring your goals in a way that is actually effective, and also really being clear and setting the action steps you have to take to get those goals. This is a powerful call that we do every month, and it's always a good time. Actually, it's always a lot of fun. So we do have that monthly goal setting call. We have a weekly goal tracker where you can put in your goal, your tasks for the week, and you can mark, did I get it done? Did I not? Now, because this is a goal tracker that everybody that every member has access to, it adds that element of collective accountability, because everyone can see, did you get your task done? Did you not get your task done? Because of the way that you mark it. And let me tell you, that helps to build the motivation. Like, nope, let me make sure I get this done. I'm not going to let this drop off. So that's another thing that we have. And then, as I mentioned earlier, our monthly strategy call, which is the third Thursday of every month. And that is a call where we come together and you can ask a question, share an issue or challenge that you're facing, any kind of struggle, and we will collectively problem solve with you and share our insights, so that you can really find like the best way forward. And like I said, the strategy call is where I have been seeing members come in and talk about, like, I'm in this revision, but I'm having trouble getting motivated, or I'm getting stuck, or I'm getting distracted and I don't know why I can't focus. And this, everything I talked about in this live, is exactly why. It's because there's a psychological element and a doubt and fear that coming up that they have not named. And every time, once they actually name it, they're like, oh, got it. So that's what's going on for me. Okay. And one of the great things about that, going back to like dealing with doubt when you're in revision, is when you actually recognize this is actually fear that's coming up for me, you realize that the problem is not actually your writing ability. That's not the thing that's stopping you. It's not I tried and tried and tried and I just couldn't make it better. It's, oh, I'm actually in fear and doubt and that's making it hard for me to come back to this project. But I actually have the ability to do this. And that's a way that you can kind of reframe it, is like, I do have this ability. That's not even the barrier right now. It's up here. So thank you guys so much for joining me on this live. And I would love to, I just want to check and see if there are any, I don't see any questions. Great. So if you have any questions, you're watching on the replay, pop them in the comments. If you are on LinkedIn, hop on over to us on YouTube and make sure that you subscribe to the channel so you find out, so that you know when I go live. But I'll tell you, it's Tuesdays and Thursdays on or around, it's between the 4:30 to 5:30 time range, but I usually try to go live around 5 o'clock, at least right now. So yes, and we also have a guest coming in August, so make sure that you come and check us out in Black Screenwriter Alliance. You can join us 7 days free. Give it a try. blackscreenwriteralliance.mn.co. And again, this is a place where you get to make connections with other screenwriters. You get to give and get support. You are finding your allies here in the community that is going to carry you in through the industry. And it is really powerful to have those people, which is why we built the community in the first place. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you guys in the next live. Make sure that you like and subscribe, and then also give us a try at blackscreenwriteralliance.mn.co. And I will see you guys